Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of a certain podcast. And it is a very special episode as we have our very first guest on. I'm
the
thrilled.
first one.
You're the very first one, Alex. So we're testing the water to see whether we can, we're ever due to get bigger when it comes to this whole podcast.
I think that's the whole mantra of our careers, to be honest, as well. Test the water, see what we can get away with.
Well, to be fair though, we are starting to make ridiculous.
People call you out on it though, from time to time. Believe me, like people will get even from time to time.
Oh, I mean,
so we're walking back to Camberwell is where you join us. Like the noises you'll hear. We're about to cross Vauxhall Bridge.
Oh, yeah,
Not Vauxhall?
Right in the heart of London.
No, but it's not. But what's this bridge? Blackfriars. We're about to we'll look at a map. This is Southwark Bridge. We're about to cross.
If anyone knows that bridge, do leave a comment.
No one knows this bridge.
Well, as much as I'd love to keep talking about the pubs and etc., I'd also love to talk about that. I do believe, just checking through your Instagram, you're more or less finished with the new album.
Yeah, so we just finished the album. So like you know how it is, the sort of label get back to you, and you need more songs. Like we've got a bit of time. I think there's slightly less time pressure on this one than there would be otherwise, but I think we're happy to have recorded quite a lot of it in the space we did.
I mean, especially with during lockdown and all that, it must have been chaotic a lot of the time.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we were slightly lucky in the sense that we've all lived together through this whole period, so we've sort of been in this like trapped isolation scenario. So like when I think we're one of the few bands that could actually do stuff together in a quite productive way. So the first time we got locked down we were in Devon, I think, in a kind of residential studio when it actually all finally kicks in the first time. So that was when we were sort of demoing the songs. And then we came back in the house and developed them quite a lot and just recorded the whole album in Bath, basically.
Wow.
Well, we want to see, like, it seemed exciting for us. Originally, it was, all right, you're going to do this sort of Stones in Exile style stuff where you do get a residential studio, you know, and you get your friends out, and you get photographers out, and you get journalists out and things to do a kind of exciting recording process and make the recording process a big part of how you actually recorded the album. I think as soon as lockdown happened, it was like you couldn't do that anymore, obviously. So we did it in a sort of, I suppose, like a bit of a countryside retreat in Bath. So we come back, but I think we might have to do a little bit more.
I mean, it sounds lovely. Countryside retreat, recording an album with your mates.
Yeah, I mean, it does. It's you get to that stage where but like all you really want is an open pub, I think.
If I had a quid for every time I've said that over this year, I just
exactly. You could give you anything in the world, but like ultimately, have a nice the house is that the label have accommodated you in. All you want is Angie's down the road to be open, and it's so it gives you perspective.
I mean, the whole recording, just like in bulk, all in one. It sounds great. Is that how you did the first album, or was it?
No, the first album was really different. So I think it was probably quite unusual in the sense that it was quite rushed the whole time. It was always like trying to sort of sneak a single out. So I think we were always a bit shocked to be doing anything with kind of a big label like Universal at the time. And so it was always like, right, need a single, whatever it is. You've got 2 days to go and record that. So the album kind of came together piece by piece.
Oh.
So this is, yeah, exactly. It was always sort of day by day, you know, and like we'd always be coming back.
Yeah, I get
it. Yeah, like, I mean, yeah, we just wanted to be a band that toured, and like that was the only bit that ever really interested us at the time. It was like you're a band, you go and play live. So we were always kind of coming back off a ferry or whatever it was, like pretty late at night, and trying to get into the studio, trying to sort of sneak out some form of recording.
Well,
But this one's been completely different. This one, you really have had like a block of time to sort of demo a lot of songs, hone them, I suppose, and yeah, go and record them.
Well, considering the fact that you're such like a band that are so fond of touring, did you have any regrets this year about, or not regrets, but do you have any hesitation at releasing the album when you did this year?
I don't think so. I think you feel like you don't want to put too much pressure on yourself and stuff like that. I think that's the bit we always really love. But we did put it out, and I think it sort of works out. I think pretty to our favour in the end, in the sense that people were just really bored. Like that kind of boredom was already starting to kick in when we actually released the album. And I think we did give people a sense of sort of excitement that you could be part of something bigger and you could be part of something that meant something, to get us to sort of nearly number one, which I think was nice.
Well, that must have been insane.
Yeah, it was incredible. I think it's because we sort of lived the same experience that probably everyone that bought into it did as well, in the sense that like we were just sort of on the night, like 4 hours before the charts were announced, be like, oh my god, like we could actually be an act that could get pretty near number one.
I mean, I read an interview just before you released that album, and you said we want to chart pretty well in it. So what did that mean then, and what did it? I mean, what was your past your expectations in the end?
I don't I'm like me personally. I'm not someone that's ever been quite modest about sort of the ambitions we have for where we want it to go. And we want every album. We obviously want to go to number one, you know. But I don't think we ever kind of quite believed it until because on the week it's funny. You see the pre-orders, because a lot of the stuff we did was based around like playing live, and it always will be for us. It was about sort of selling physical records at live shows, and we knew we'd done a really big tour, and we knew a lot of people at the end of it wanted to buy vinyl at the end. So you had quite a lot of it in the bank, and then it's like, because that's not the way other acts do it, I don't think. And you then, as soon as you get close to sort of thinking you might actually chart, it's like, all right, okay, you want to sort of shove this a bit more, and but yeah, for us it was sort of strange and the kind of quick experience for it to get to the place it did.
I mean, in my opinion, it was a disgrace got beaten out by Gaga. Especially in England. It was so, like, I remember at the time, it was something like you'd have been the first British band to get a number one album in a certain amount of time, and it was a crazy amount of time.
Well, I think it was the best selling debut in 4 years or something like that.
Wow.
In terms of the album charts, but I don't know. I think it was one of those albums that made people like it's. I think we sort of got what people actually wanted from a debut album. You know, like you don't want a sort of polished product. You don't want sort of 9 pop hit singles that can like do radio trade on that. You want something that sort of sounds scrappy and like us and not quite finished, but live, and like you hear the people in the band in that record. I think that's what we did, and I think that's why people liked it.
That's something that I've always thought, like listening to your music, like listening to it live versus, or obviously I've only seen recordings of you live, I haven't seen you live yet, but it almost like has that sort of live feeling on the recordings, and that's something I really like about it.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that's kind of all we're in it for, you know. It's like I know of people in the band, but I don't really like being in the studio. Like the bit that kind of feels visceral and the bit that has some glory to it is going out in front of a certain amount of people, and it's quite confrontational. Like it summons something quite primal in you to go and do that. So that's the way we sold the record, and that's the way we made the record, because it was always about trying stuff out on stage the night before and then coming back into the studio the night after and thinking, all right, like that was the bit that people reacted to well, let's ham that up.
How was the whole recording process done if you were under such short time frames? If you're given, we need a single in 2 days, was it a case of you all jam together and you try and get one out, or you all go off into your own corners and you try and write the best song and you see which comes out the best at the end?
No, because I think probably going to the studio at least, it wasn't the songs didn't. I think most of the songs were sort of pretty written by the stage we were actually into the studio, so we're trying them and adapting them rather than trying to sort of write new ones. But I mean, for me at least, I think most people know, so Rob writes most of the songs in our band. So I don't really like the studio at all. I don't really find it very interesting. I think it's kind of the antithesis of what you really want to be doing as a band. I think it can sound like quite a trite thing to say that sort of the performance elements of it is more important. But I think that's sort of the art form for us. It's trying to create something as part of a show. And music is part of that. And I don't think that has to be sort of theatrical or whatever it is, but it's about doing something sort of visceral that makes people feel something and gives people a sense of community, which I think is actually the most important thing that we do at the moment, that anyone that would want to form a new band does at the moment.
I was just going to say, I mean, I think that's something that's really good about you, the fact that you want to create that sense of community. And I heard you talking about over lockdown, you've had quite a lot of interaction with fans. So how's that sort of been going over the last couple of months? Are you still, you're still sort of having the letters sent to you and having the calls with your fans?
Yeah, we did. So as I said, when we were first locked down, we were in the studio in Cornwall, and people write to us. We write back because it just feels kind of normal. But I think it'd be hard for us to sort of portray a version of the band now where we're all like, oh, this is fucking great, we'll love it all the time, because actually lockdown's pretty miserable. It's sort of taken away the thing that gave us, I think for a band it's strange because it's not only taken away sort of your sort of main source of income, but you build a lot of your identity around being on tour. I think that we almost know each other as a group of friends that all live together now, but we know each other as people that we tour with, and that sort of share these similar experiences that we sort of lost the most. So I think it's quite an old one for us now.
With the studio part of it, when you say you don't really enjoy being there, I was a bit amazed when you said that. I was thinking, in the studio with your mates doing something you love would have been something. I get why maybe the emotion you struggle to mimic what you do live as you do in the studio, but I can only imagine it would be hell or chaos just pissing about in the studio with my mates. I know we'd 100% get no work done when we go in there.
Yeah, it's tough because I mean I'd love to have that attitude, but at the end of the day, you probably do have to produce music that can be recorded at some stage of the day. And I think that you probably hit the nail on the head that our attitude would never be to just right, let's just get it done,
Yeah, no.
And that. But for me, it's I mean, as you know, sort of songs get formed better when they're in a place where they don't have sort of multiple visions. And I think if you sort of get too democratic on stuff like that, you actually you start to hinder stuff. And so we can provide sort of energy for sure, but and trying to bring that live energy into something. But I'm not really interested in kind of fiddling with a guitar pedal for 12 hours a day, because actually the recording process I'm sure this is true for any band, you get a lot of this stuff done, you get the sound of a song done incredibly quickly, and then you spend sort of another day on it trying to fiddle with trying to make a harmonica sound like a guitar, and for me that's just so much the antithesis of what I personally wanted to be in a band for, that I just find it quite a dull experience, And it's funny, I just sit upstairs. I just Premises Studios was good when we recorded the first time because I could sit upstairs and watch Rick Stein. But there was this this other one that was just so little to offer. It's proper wilderness. I was in the middle of absolutely nowhere, and I always thought I really bought into this idea of like loving a residential studio. It's like we play this angle. It's like, oh, you're with your mates. Like, isn't that great? You start to hate your mates pretty quick after 30 days of them, believe me.
Oh, I can believe that. Don't worry.
We're meant to be mates sometimes, and
yeah, exactly. It's a good press angle, isn't it? To like say you're all a group of mates.
Yeah.
One time when it does look like you're having a lot of fun, though. It's in,
no.
Sorry,
like,
sorry. Go on.
I probably misspeak. Like we're like it is very genuine, but like I'm sure you know as well as anyone. Like if you, I don't know if you two live together, but you try living together and suddenly it's like, oh, I wish I wasn't living here. You know.
Oh, we couldn't do that. I won't be living with them.
No way.
Exactly.
No.
Try that.
You
like
can't do
try
that
that.
when you... Yeah.
You're fair weather friends. Very used to be friends at the pub. Believe me.
What I was going to say is that one time when it does look like you're having a lot of fun is when you're recording your music videos.
Oh, they look like chaos.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. I mean, we definitely do have a lot of fun. I think a lot of those ideas come from us as well, and yeah, the like recording videos is fun. I guess.
Who had the idea of just like the fishing video? I remember stuck out for me.
Well, I don't know, like that. I think that's got that wonderful look of sort of looking fun.
Yeah.
Then you realise it was some sort of. You've got to figure out the label. Is that all right? You need to communicate yourselves well. Like, how can we make you look sort of like a bigger band than you are, even? And so I think it's sort of that, and like it's the first one I think we'd been pretty properly styled for, and had like a sort of range of settings to film in. So I think I don't know, maybe we'll feel a bit awkward about it, but I think it's good in the end. I think it's probably one of the best videos we've done.
Yeah, I liked it, but I understand what you're saying now. Obviously, we imagine being in a band as, I mean, to put it like sex, drugs, rock and roll. You know what I mean? It's like
that's what I imagine being in a band like as well. That's the problem.
I guess with every job you've actually got to work, which is something we've got to face eventually, and I'm not happy about it. Our Ethan started working soon. I'm still at uni, so I've got a few more years of on the piss before I kick back in.
It's a funny disparity though, because I have a hunch that if you put people that are genuinely not prepared to work into situations of sort of like of glory, at least. Like, I think you look at sort of Oasis and like Liam Gallagher, like if you can pick people out of the world that are genuinely not talented people, those are the most interesting people you could possibly put on a pedestal.
Yeah, I guess you don't want them polished and squeaky clean in every area. You want a bit of that natural raw. You get
in no way, like I think yeah, exactly. I think that's kind of all you want. You like people want to see turbulence and they want to see a band that feels like it's like they don't necessarily know where it's going. I mean, if you see so many bands at the moment that it feels constructed, you know, and you can build the marketing campaign in your head. But I don't know. I think at the very least, our fans look at us and think, "Oh, you know what? That could be over in a week, or that could be the biggest band in the world."
Well, did you know where it was all going when you all met at uni? Did you know that was where, this could happen, or were you just mates to begin with, and then you all it kind of officially kicked in?
I don't know. Like you follow your band. You like it's. I would never want to characterize sort of any of the other six, but you probably know me. Like, I'm just a bit of a dickhead, you know. Like who probably did genuinely think from day one that like we would be the biggest band in the world. And I think there's a sort of there's a certain amount of self-belief that's required to do anything really great and to try and get to a stage that like I mean I don't think you could come out on stage and tell people buy our album if you didn't think it was really great, you know.
No.
So I think you do need self-belief, but like clearly that comes from having sort of a basic level of ability. But I think we always kind of view the band as, because like we're like big into music, it was also something that we really loved. And I would see a lot of gigs as kids ourselves. And just from the basic perspective, like, would that be something you wanted to go and see? Like the gigs I always liked to go and see were sort of bands like Woo Life and like Rob talks about Egyptian hip hop and stuff like that, where you'd come out and you'd be like, all right, you know, that was a show, like that was a night out with your mates, and that felt a bit dangerous. And I think so we've always sort of kept in mind what we'd actually want to see rather than sort of what our idea of what being in a rock and roll band would be, I think.
Yeah. Obviously, you've got to have self-belief. No one else is going to think you can do it if you don't believe you can do it. But
yeah,
one question I've got to ask: did your parents believe you could do it? Like initially, because you went to Cambridge, didn't you? Was it Cambridge? What?
Yeah, Cambridge.
What in the world was a Cambridge level students doing making indie rock tunes?
I don't know. I think it was there weren't really any bands around us. It was funny because like I suppose we were all just people that actually listened to a lot of music. I guess we were always the ones in. So we were in halls together, and the ones that would listen to like Pavement was who we really loved. Like, I remember being sort of like slightly weird for going before nights out when other people would listen to different stuff and be like, "Oh, do you want to get a Pavement record on?" I think it wasn't so much that like they've never. I don't think any of our parents have ever not been supportive, but I don't think they really have a point of reference for anything we're doing at the moment. You know, like my dad always said to me, so when we would do quite big gigs, I mean, like played the O2. So that it'd come to that. It's like 20,000 people and things. And you see your dad at the end and be like, oh, you know what? Like, I have a bit of a living in this. Like, I remember there was a covers band down the Bull the other night. And like actually people seem to give them like a fair donation. Like people bought them for your drinks and stuff. And so I think they can sort of recognise it, but they recognise it on quite an abstract level where because like why would you? I mean, you two guys that really love music as well, but like, why would you have any point of reference for your kid going out on stage to 10,000 people?
You're talking about venues. I mean, you played the O2. You've also been to America, haven't you? You played LA, New York. I mean, it's really impressive, kind of what you're doing, and how you've broken out. Is there a favourite place that you played in? And of course, you played in Liverpool, so bear that in mind.
Yeah, no, I really mean it. I actually really love playing Liverpool. Exactly. Like I remember wearing I'm not a big football fan at all, but I remember wearing a Liverpool shirt. It's like the first gig we ever did in Liverpool. I was like, I'm just going to do it. And Al was so pissed off. Like Al stormed out of a pub by the fact I was doing that. And she actually apologised to me later on about having done that. But I really mean it. Like Liverpool's a great show. Like Glasgow's always really fun. There's a bar called what's the one in Glasgow called? I completely forgot his name. The Lauriston, yeah, that we really are going to. Yeah, like everywhere's great. You never really get a bad reaction anyway. Like Bristol's always nice. Like the big London shows are nice, but I think it kind of depends where we live as well. And I think we sort of like want to live all over the country because none of us are really from London, so we sort of want to live all over the country. I think we're thinking now we're getting rid of this house in a couple of weeks. Like where can we actually go and live and sort of make somewhere else feel like home? Like we're quite nomadic, I think.
Do you have a plan for where you're going to live, or are you still winging it?
I think I've just given that spiel, but I think I'll probably live with my girlfriend in London. But I think Rob, Henry, and Ben and Al are looking at getting some sort of studio style space in Glasgow.
Oh,
which would be fun. Which would be like pretty as far away as you could get from me. But
wouldn't be good commuting.
I think Ollie will probably stay in London, but I don't really know.
Oh, up in Glasgow, that's a far way away to be living as a band. I mean, I know you currently live together, which is about
live where it's cheap.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, we only take because we thought we'd actually need to be in London quite a lot, and now, like none of us are from London, and now lockdown came in, it's suddenly like, why are we here? This is like the worst place in the world we could possibly be. We're in sort of like yuppie central where not even the bars are open, you know. So I think we basically just want to live somewhere cheap where we've got a bit of space and like countryside. We like walking. So I think Scotland might be perfect.
I mean, I've only ever been to Scotland once when I was young, but for some reason, even I remember how everyone just seemed to be drinking and everyone seemed to be loving life. It sounds like a plan. I'll give you that.
Yeah, it'd be great.
So, as in for the future of sports team, shall we say, you got the new album coming out. Do you have a name for it yet, or is that still under wraps?
No, I wish it were under wraps. No, we just haven't got a name yet.
Fair enough. So, got a tour coming up, I presume. Every band seems to be wanting to squeeze in their tour next year during.
Yeah, you've got to win it, haven't you? Like, yeah. I keep seeing all these bands that are trying to cram this, and like, I'm genuinely really hopeful that things could get a bit back to normal by spring. And basically, you've got to have your tour win. I think ours is just sort of like the obvious winner for all of that. Like, you look at any of those tours you want to go on, like, what's the welcome back party? I think probably us at Brixton is just a no-brainer. Like, that feels like the welcome back for the music industry.
Oh, we might have to go.
I mean, you're definitely winning in terms of the tour game so far. Main stage leads in Reading?
Yeah. I don't know whether it's been announced yet, but we're definitely like reasonably near the top of Reading and Leeds.
Yeah, I mean, you're also coming, and you were mentioning Warrington before. We joined before. You're playing the neighbourhood weekender in Warrington.
Yeah.
I mean, that'll be on that Sunday. There's a very decent lineup on that Sunday. So
I think you've summed it up. That'll be a good laugh. Yeah. I think that's pretty how we feel about the Warrington neighbourhood weekend. That would be great.
One thing we did notice, though, no Liverpool. They're very disappointing.
Have we really not got a Liverpool date announced?
You've got a Manchester date. I don't think you've got a Liverpool date now.
Well, I really mean this. I'm just saying this to pander. I think our view, as soon as we can actually play gigs again, like what we were doing, we sort of honed our art before lockdown came in. Where we just like turning up in pubs, and that's it on the night and play. And if we genuinely have the opportunity to do that again, I really mean it. Like, the first place is Liverpool, Manchester, Bristol, Glasgow. We'll just be turning up in pubs and announcing on the night. That is exactly what we're doing. That's all we want to do. That's the only thing kind of keeps us going through this, I think. Even if it's like 50 cap gigs, we'll go and do a terrible socially distanced gig, but we'll turn up.
See, now that's a rock and roll dream that I imagine you were thinking of, turning up wherever you want, playing wherever you want.
It's the biggest ego trip. Like, that's what we thought. Like, when we announced that Nag's Head thing, we were like, I was gonna be 10 bill turn up, like, frankly, we're gonna have to like apologise to the locals, and then like you got to queue out the door, and it's like 300 people that can't get in. It's like unbelievable. But yeah, that's what we want to do. Just make nights for people.
You also do a good job of making days as well, because we want to know, have you got a date confirmed for Margate next year?
We've committed to this thing. I think pretty like everyone, when lockdown first came in, we're a bit like, oh, all right, it's probably been a couple of months. Let's grit our teeth and bear it. And so we set up this group. So Margate first big weekend, which is sort of, there's a live stream of the stage, which now looks pretty pathetic. Which was going to be our first gig back. Like, whatever we do, that'll be our first gig back. So I think we will keep to that commitment. So like, as soon as you can do gigs again, we'll be there.
That's going to be good, because there's going to be a hell of a trek there, but we are coming.
We are coming.
I hope so. Yeah, let me know.
Yeah, so we were just before we left off, we were talking about Margate, weren't we? So just in case, I mean, there's probably people out here who don't know what goes on in Margate. Would you be able to just kind of enlighten people?
So I think at the start we were like, we didn't feel uneasy, but we were all suddenly living in London, thinking like we were all kids that none of us from London living in a living in sort of regional towns that was like, all right, if you want to see a gig, it's pretty hard, you know. And whether it was, I went to the Tunbridge Wells Forum, but like often you'd have to sort of go to London. It'd be like, it costs you a fortune. So I think we're like, all right, well, we don't want to be this sort of London-centric band. We'll get a load of people, and we'll pay for the buses to bus people down to sort of a seaside town, and kind of make a day of it, you know. And I don't think it was too thought out. I think it was always kind of, we'll have a barbecue on the beach, you know. It's because it was where our manager lived, so he could sort some stuff. It was like, all right, well, let's do this. Let's put a few coaches on and get people to come down. It always ended up being a bit looser than it should have, I think. And so fans kind of getting left behind and being ultimately ending up living in Margate, I think. But yeah, that was always sort of the premise for it. But it was like, I think the first one we've only done two. So like the first one was the Tom Tum Theatre, which was, I think it's like the smallest venue in the country. So it was tiny when it first started. It was like a handful of people coming down, like basically on the train. And then last year we put on, it was a couple of coaches or something. Did like an amazing record store venue called Elsewhere. And it's always just quite loose, you know. It's just something kind of we want to do. I don't think it's too calculated or anything like that. It's just like we quite like going to the seaside, and it's nice if you have quite a lot of your mates come down.
Do you ever get worried that if you carry on going on this current trajectory, that the population of Margate might triple and there'll be about 50,000 people?
There's plenty to compete with, like the Libertines. I think they opened their hotel maybe even this week in Margate. Like Pete Doherty's there, and Henry did. So the last time we were there was, I think we just went down for a swim, and it was like, all right, we'll go see Stuart, our manager, and go for a bit of a swim in the evening. And there was like, I don't know if you've seen Pete Doherty's breakfast challenge.
Yeah, I have.
So he did. There's a cafe called the Dolby Cafe in Margate on the seafront, and it's quite a small town, so you know it. And it's he basically completed his breakfast challenge in like half an hour, and it's something huge. It's like 19 sausages, like 4 omelets, like a couple of burgers. Like, it's massive. And Henry and Rob, our guitarists, were like, oh, you know what, I'll give that a go, give that a crack. And then Rob that evening like dislocated his shoulder, and so I had to go to hospital and couldn't do it. And then Henry, who I think was never really keen at the start, ended up trying to like attempt to get in, failing. But he had his sort of 5 minutes of fame in the sense that like the Thanet press were all over it. It was like Kent Live wanting an interview of Henry Young and things like that, like, all through the day. It's been just having this failed breakfast. So yeah, that was the last time we were in Margate.
Oh, there's a fantastic image of Pete attempting that at that cafe. And
yeah, you should look at that.
Oh, that's how it's just every time I come in from a night out. That is like, I put that up in the morning on the Instagram, and it perfectly encapsulates everybody after a night out.
I feel like I could eat it. I saw it and I felt like I could have made a better effort than Henry. I really do. Like the thing is, the best bit is he has it with a Yazoo milkshake. Like, it's like huge breakfast. You get some milkshake with it.
You're the cows. You're not the biggest of lads, are you? I mean, like. Sure,
no, we're like skinny lads. Like, we're growing all the time. But he was skinny lad when he attempted it. Like Pete Doherty also, I thought was skinny lad. I thought he had like quite a chic heroin addiction. But like after I saw him have that breakfast, it was just unbelievable.
You just say allegedly there.
No, he did. He did love smack.
Nah, he did love smack. Yes, he did. Yeah, our Peter's he's a bit He loved it back in the day. I think he's all.
Yeah.
He's well behaved now, isn't he?
I don't think he is. Like, honestly, I've heard the reports from Margate. Apparently, he's got a few huskies, which kind of give him the air of respectability, I suppose. Like if he's sort of like a sled dog captain or something like that. But I mean, he is attempting his breakfast. I don't know which one of you has seen these breakfast pictures, but have a brief look at that and tell me if you think he's someone that's got his life together.
Yeah, you have to be on something to at least attempt it. Lord knows what you're on if you finish it. I know.
Although you wouldn't necessarily feel hungry.
No.
Yeah, although he does seem too hungry to be somebody who really means it, you know.
Yeah, I guess. But now I think about it, I mean, I think on the recent tour, I think he got done in for throwing a microphone stand at some girl in the crowd. So yeah, maybe he's not that well behaved anymore.
Really?
Oh well. Less about the Libertines, more on about the good old sports team. So, I mean, how does it feel? Just on a whole nother train of thought. How does it feel to sell out a place? Like really, like because I know for a fact with me, it would boost my ego so much. I'm never coming down.
Well, it does. I think that's originally sort of how I thought about it as well, and then it gets quite gradual. Like if someone were to offer you, like anything we could play now, I think you'd be like that would be my dream. I could retire on that. I mean, that'd be like all I ever wanted. And the fact that it's like you get quite greedy for starters. So like, I don't know if you played to 300 people the night before and you played to 3,000 the night after, you're like, not enough, should be 5. And you compare yourself to other acts doing it quite a lot, I think. But I think like in terms of there's so many sort of machinations of a band and like there's sort of calculations and how you work the label and things like that. Like live is where it's just really visceral. Like you can't help but have a reaction to people in front of you, whether it's 5 or 5,000 people. It's like you can just never take it away. And like for me, and I suspect everyone else in the band would have quite a different view of it. But you really do get kind of it's so primal. It's like quite confrontational the way you actually end up reacting to seeing that many people. Like you're confronted with people just like screaming at you, and something just sort of clicks in you. Because I think in normal life, I'm quite a placid person, and then you get on stage, and it's the only way you can actually sort of confront that is to like just hurl yourself at it. And really just sort of throw yourself at it as hard as you can.
You definitely seem to do that. When you throw yourself all over the place, and you make a really good show of it, I've got to say.
Yeah, it's funny because like you don't. I think you're speaking to me now, and if you met me, you wouldn't really expect that. I don't think, and it's. But I think you do get. I think anyone that was in that position was. Like something just clicks in your brain. It's like I think you either have it in you or you don't. Sort of like come back at it. You get like a fight or flight instinct, you know?
Yeah, I can definitely see what you mean in that. I mean, me and Stan have had a couple of karaoke nights in Liverpool that have ended up a bit like that.
Oh no!
It's honestly like I think so when you go on stage, like you don't. I often kind of don't really remember what you've done on it. You come off and you're sort of you feel sort of what I do at least like this sort of immense sense of calm. Because you get quite a lot of that sort of nervous energy that you've got inside of you out. But I don't even necessarily remember it. Like what you do up there.
I suppose it's just the adrenaline coming over you, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, that's pure adrenaline. Not remembering what just happened. Pure adrenaline.
I think it is.
Pumped up, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's sort of like it's embracing that, and it's also kind of. I think when I think about sort of how you perform, because I think a lot of people do get up there and think. and calculate, you know, like in their heads that are all right. What's a good performance, you know, and they don't quite have that like eyes go white sort of thing, and yeah, I think it's kind of towing that line between it being sort of something that's sort of silly and something that's just performance.
Because you've got some crazy dance moves. I've got to give you the a pat on the back for some of the dance moves I've seen on the definitely on the videos as well. Are they choreographed?
It's kind of like character and acting, and
Yeah.
it's like because well, that's the thing. It's such a fine line. I always look at some like performances, some compelling because it's sort of right on the edge of being comedy, and it's but it falls on the side of being serious, you know, like there's always, it's kind of in that liminal space where you sort of don't really know what to think of it. Then it becomes interesting, I think.
So what, in terms of your performances, like, what is do you have a history of performing? Because you seem like you do. Like, where did this all sort of stem from? No, not at all.
No, I mean, you know my background. It's like, it's going to Cambridge and going to lectures and things like that. It's
so
not.
You don't have a history with getting up on stage and singing at all. Like,
never done it before in my life. Like the first gig we did, I think it's like you sort of summon something from the basis of like feeling so awkward from being there, and something I guess just sort of snaps in you. And I'm not sure it's necessarily a healthy thing to have happen to you, but something you do feel something just sort of click.
So were you never like a singer at all when you were younger, or do you not have any sort of...
No, like to be fair, I don't really think I'm a singer now, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you, as I said before, you'd have that kind of fight or flight reaction where it's like you get up there and you've suddenly got that amount of people in front of you, and what do you do? Like, I mean, a lot of people probably never know in their lives how they would react to that. I don't know, how you think you would react if you suddenly find 10,000 people in front of you and you're on a stage?
Oh, my legs would just turn to jelly straight away.
I just shit the bed.
On the floor.
Yeah, absolutely shit the bed.
It's tough because I just don't know, and I think probably that's true for a lot of people that get up and do that, and you see that in a performance, I think, and it's probably got its own appeal. Like I know Al at the very least remembers sort of the Maccabees, where like the whole shtick was like Orlando being very nervous to be there. I think that's really endearing as well. I think you just want to see sort of something that feels true and real, and like you believe in what you're doing. You know, I think the ultimate people will see immediately if it looks fake, like in one way or another. You can do fake nervous, and you can do fake. You can do fake like over performative, you know. And I think it's just about it. It's about it feeling like you're watching someone that's doing something that they believe.
Yeah, cool.
It's all about the ones that the best bands, in my opinion, are the ones that have got that aren't just like the black and white standard. Lead guitarist, he looks like a bassist. The ones that really got that character to them, and you guys have so much character to each of you. And can I just say, Ben, the keyboardist is nothing short of fantastic. In his persona and character.
He's great. He's great. No, he's brilliant. He's the fashionable one as well. He's people love Ben.
I mean, I saw an interview where Ben didn't come, and you spoke on behalf of him, I believe, or it might be Rob speaking on behalf of him. But one said that he actually just doesn't enjoy it. Was that a joke?
Yeah, again, that's what I mean. Like, I think it speaks to my point before about like the last thing you want to see anyone doing is sort of doing a bit, you know. And I think it'd be quite easy to look at Ben and be like, all right, well, he's doing like a comedy bit or whatever it is, and like you meet him in person, and that really is Ben, like sort of through and through. That is like exactly his personality. Like, if you meet him as a fan, he is not going to speak to you.
That is exactly what I wanted to hear. I wanted Ben. I didn't want it to be a show. I wanted Ben to be exactly that kind of person.
Yeah, that really is him. That's him in the house, and it's daily life.
Oh,
it's such a beautiful mix of personalities coming together within sort of one band.
Yeah, I think it is. I think that's sort of a lot of the appeal as well. It's kind of you'd hopefully recognise it to some extent. Your group of friends, you know, it's like everyone's quite flawed. And everyone's sort of trying and not necessarily doing that well at what they're trying to do.
I've always gone on just a complete walk about this.
Can I get a bacon mayo chicken, please?
So if anyone wanted to know what Alex Rice's order was at Maccies, now you know.
But yeah, that's my Maccies ordered tonight. I want something that gives you the illusion of healthiness.
I do think it may be time to polish off this podcast.
Well, we can always do another. We can always do it every week.
A podcast every week on chicken belly.
Oh no! Yeah, we can always do this one every week. Sorry, it took so long to organise this, but I know I kept changing.
Don't even worry about it, mate. It's I was amazed. I initially got in contact with you about it, so a few more days waiting's perfectly fine with me.
That's very flashing. That feels like more flashy than I deserve, but
we don't want to be
very kind. No,
any more than it needs.
what a pleasure.
Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Well, cheers, guys.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
No.
And we'll have to get you on at another point, if of course you wish to.
Anytime. I'm a big fan.
Maybe when the new album's out, we'll see what's happening with it. We'll see where you guys are at. Anything.
Yeah.
We'll be in.
Let's do it.
Thank you so much for coming. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, cheers, lads. Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Lovely.
Thanks a lot. Best of luck.
No worries.
Ta-da.
Speak to you soon.
So, that was Mr. Alexander Rice. We've been a certain podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And that'll be it for this week. Bye.
Ta-da.